In this video, I'd like to concentrate on 3 character traits out of a total of 12 character traits that Jim Rohn is talking about in cultivating an unshakable character. If you watch this video until the very end, you'll know more about confidence, courage, and flexibility, and how developing those traits can basically help you get anything you want in life. Hi, I'm Julian and I'm from Berlin, Germany. I'm a husband, dad, and business owner. On this channel, you'll find proven strategies that will help you live a rich and meaningful life. My favorite quote from Jim Rohn is, "Formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune." I took about 15 pages of notes, but for the sake of brevity, I only want to share the things that most resonated with me. So, as promised, let's have a look at confidence, courage, and flexibility. Let's start with confidence. Jim Rohn says it's about believing in ourselves. It's also the ability to inspire trust in others. He says this can only be achieved if we are trusting ourselves. Why is confidence important and how can it be developed? Confidence is important when dating, asking for a promotion, or convincing someone to do something for me. This could mean me trying to sell something to someone or asking my daughter to brush her teeth. Let's have a look at another simple example. If I sell something to someone, then I need to first believe in my product or service. Otherwise, it will be very hard to convince someone else to actually feel confident to buy from me. Jim Rohn talks about George Washington, who still inspires confidence in people today by being shown on a dollar bill. "In God we trust" inspires confidence in the dollar. Jim Rohn also talks about Picasso, the artist, saying that the art market is a confidence game where one painting alone will sometimes be sold for millions of dollars. The question now is, how can we achieve the same level of confidence? According to Jim Rohn, there are 3 ways. First, by uncovering and using our own unique strength. Second, by appreciating our own formal education, if we have one. And third, by frequently thinking about the challenges we already went through in our own lives and the success we've had in dealing with those. Second, we'll look at flexibility. This is the one concept that most resonated with me. He uses the image of a tree to illustrate what flexibility means. A tree is steadfast in the way that it has strong roots, but when the wind blows, even if it gets hit by a hurricane, its branches will bend and give way to the wind. The opposite of being flexible is being rigid, and that's risky. Jim Rohn quotes Henry Ford, who would only want to sell his original car in the color black. He wasn't very flexible. Rules change regularly, so it's important to adapt and change to new circumstances. Not being flexible led the company Kodak from market domination to bankruptcy. They just didn't want to embrace the digital camera. Kodak wasn't flexible. When applying what I learned from Jim Rohn in regards to flexibility, I came up with the following examples that apply to my own life. Sometimes my daughter will not take a midday nap. I need to be flexible when this happens. Sometimes the daycare center is closed and a babysitter is not available. Better be flexible when it happens. A client doesn't turn out to be the way I expected to, then it might be best to let go of this client. Let's say that someone is very confrontational with us. Then it's usually best to control ourselves and not react in the same way. This is of course easier said than done, and flexibility requires great self-knowledge and iron self-control, like a master of the martial arts. Being flexible also means letting go in one way or the other. The subject of letting go is so fascinating that I'll cover it in another video. Finally, let's look at courage. Jim Rohn starts by quoting the Greek Aristotle, who said, "A truly courageous person is not someone who never feels fear, but who fears the right thing at the right time in the right way." He then continues to explain what the typical fears of a fearful person are and what the typical fears of a courageous person are. So what do we fear if we are not courageous? In this case, we fear that we might lose our job, lose our health, lose our money, or lose our partner, for example. Generally speaking, if we are fearful instead of courageous, we fear that we will be helpless if something unexpected happens to us. Now let's have a look at a typical fear of a courageous person. A courageous person generally does not fear any of the things that a fearful person fears. That's because a courageous person knows that she can always find a new job, get her health back, get her money back, or find another partner if necessary. However, a courageous person also fears some things, but those are completely different. A courageous person fears revolve around not living up to one's own ideals, about reacting instead of being proactive, and about not taking advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of us. Jim Rohn goes on to argue that a courageous person is afraid of making appearances more important than realities, making impressions more important than communications, and making himself more important than those depending on him. I really like those last three things he mentioned because it teaches us to be modest. Applied to our own modern world, this could mean that we should value real conversations higher than social media comments or text messaging, for example. So my question for you is, what could you do starting from today to become more courageous, more flexible, and more confident? How could that help get some of the things you really want out of life? I'm really curious. Please let me know in the comments below.